rise to contribute to this debate today, and I just wanted to start with the title of this bill, A Tax Plan for the COVID-19 Economic Recovery Bill. Well, that's the first con job. It does nothing to actually deal with the economic crisis that we are confronted with today. And why is that? Because we're in an economic crisis from this pandemic because we have 1 million people out of work. We have people from the hospitality sector, from the retail sector, from the tourism sector, from the arts and the entertainment industries who have all lost their jobs because of the restrictions and the health response that was needed. We are in a recession that overwhelmingly impacts young people. We are in a recession that overwhelmingly impacts women. We are in a recession where it is the working poor and the unemployed in this country who are carrying the burden. And what does this bill do? It doesn't address any of those economic crises. It doesn't make life better for the unemployed. It spends tens of billions of dollars helping people who are actually managing okay at the moment. The millionaires of this country are doing pretty well in comparison to those who have lost their job. This legislation confronts us with a choice. If the government has made a decision to spend billions of money and get that out the door to try and stimulate the economy in the midst of this economic crisis, they need to make a choice as to where this money goes. And what the government has decided to do in this budget and with this bill is that they have chosen the wealthy over the poor. They've chosen men over women. They've chosen mining executives over aged care workers. They've chosen millionaires over those people who have lost their jobs. This government's choices are clear, stark, and rooted in an obscene ideology that says if you're at the bottom end of the income brackets, oh well, that's your fault. This budget and this bill, these tax cuts, are rooted in the belief that money will trickle down. Well, we know that's not true. That is a con job. Trickle-down economics has been proven time and time and time again to deliver nothing for those who are on low incomes, those who are unemployed, the sick, the elderly, those who rely on public services. And let's make no mistake, Madam Acting Deputy President, that tax cuts today means service cuts tomorrow. What does that mean in reality? Less health care, less funding for education, less support and funding for aged care. The services in this country that when you're in the midst of a pandemic and an economic crisis, the country needs. $50 billion a year, spending tax cuts, $50 billion a year to be spent on tax cuts for the rich people, and yet the unemployed get nothing. And of course, we know that this government has all the way through this pandemic and this crisis chosen men over women. It is women who predominantly have lost their jobs in the midst of this crisis. In those sectors like retail, hospitality, arts, entertainment, tourism. And yet where is the money gone and where is the support gone from this government? It's gone to the jobs for the boys. Mining companies, expanding the gas industry, construction. Every time the Prime Minister gets up, he talks about helping the tradie. Yet it's women in this country who carry the financial burden of this crisis. And what has the government done for them? Nothing. Nothing. These tax cuts predominantly go to high-income earners. Who does that mean? Men. This government has made choices today that prioritise the rich over the poor, men over women, and millionaires over the unemployed. This is not the type of response we need if we are to get out of this economic crisis. All the economists say that, but the government is blinded by their own ideology. $50 billion a year. Imagine what that money could be spent on if it was invested more wisely. Because this is about choice. And rather than giving money to the rich and leaving the poor with nothing, rather than prioritising high-income earners and men over women, rather than prioritising millionaires over the unemployed, imagine what $50 billion a year could do. We could be investing in our education system. We could be making sure our aged care system has well-paid staff to care for our elderly. We could have well-funded hospitals to make sure our healthcare in the middle of a health crisis actually delivers the services it needs. So I'm strongly opposed to this piece of legislation because the government's choices in this crisis are backwards. Rich over poor, men over women, millionaires over the unemployed. If you want to know what this government stands for, it stands for greed.